Hey guys, Richard from the Plain Bagel here. Today I wanted to make a video about conflicts of interest. I know, a captivating topic, right? Here at the Plain Bagel, we only give the people what they want. This is the content that the people demand, and I am just here to deliver. You know, I'm your humble servant here to discuss these entrancing subjects. But in all seriousness, this is a pretty important topic and one that has an actual impact on people's livelihood, on their financial well-being. Because at the same time that we're seeing this explosion of stock influencers and crypto enthusiasts, where it seems everyone has an opinion to share on cryptocurrencies.
Top 3 picks for crypto.
Top 3 cryptos.
Here's 5 crypto products. I'm buying 3.
We're not seeing that same increase in people being transparent and disclosing, you know, their conflicts of interest, where their interests lie, and how that will impact the bias of what they say. Some of the worst of this seems to have come from some celebrities, where, for example, this is an older story, but Floyd Mayweather was actually charged by the SEC, where essentially he was paid to, you know, post about these coins, and he kind of made it seem like this was just his personal opinion and didn't mention that he actually got paid to make these posts. But unfortunately, we're also seeing this in the influencer space, where there seem to be a lot of influencers in the stock space kind of being unethical with how they promote certain things. I know, shocker. This is something that's unfortunately becoming a lot more prevalent on social media, including sites like YouTube, where people are giving advice and things like that without mentioning conflicts of interest. In many cases, people will simply include that disclosure at the bottom of their video where they say this is not financial advice. They wipe their hands clean and they assume they can say whatever they want without ramifications. And you might hear all that and think, well, Richard, you know, yes, there's a lot of bad advice out there, but perhaps it's not as nefarious as you claim. But the reason why I mention this, and the reason why I do believe there are creators out there being paid to promote things without telling people and things like that, is because back in March, I was offered $30,000 to promote a stock myself. And I did not take it, if you were questioning. Now, as you might be aware, I'm not opposed to taking sponsorships, but I am very conservative with the companies that I work with. You might have noticed that I never work with a financial service company. I never promote financial services or financial platforms, for the very reason that I don't want that influence on the type of content I discuss. So needless to say that promoting a stock sort of falls into that same arena, which is why I turned it down. But the really upsetting thing about this email that I got was that it actually shared links to videos of other YouTubers that this company had worked with. And the really sad thing is that none of these YouTubers mentioned that they were paid to promote this stock. These were all trading channels that mentioned and hyped up this company, mentioned that they were buying it themselves, that they were strong buy positions, and that the technology was amazing for this firm. But none of them mentioned that they were supposedly sponsored for this content. Now, as frustrating as it probably will be, I won't be naming the channels that were included in this email. I know it would probably be in the best interest of my viewers to notify them of, you know, creators that are being a bit more sketchy. But on the one hand, this could be a fake email sent by a troll. You know, perhaps these people just happen to post about the same company at the same time. And I don't want to condemn a channel, especially with all these channels being smaller than my own, based simply off an email. I don't think that's enough to pass judgment onto someone. But on top of that, there are legal implications of accusing someone of fraud. So, you know, I want to avoid getting my own channel and everyone involved in trouble. But with that being said, there does seem to be some evidence that these channels were in fact colluding with this company to boost the stock price higher. Firstly, at the time that these videos were posted, the stock had a market cap of roughly $60 million, which is a very small cap company. To put that into perspective, Investopedia defines a small cap company as one with a market cap between $300 million and $2 billion. So this is smaller than their definition of a small cap company. So obviously, it's pretty unlikely that all these YouTubers would stumble upon the same company and promote it around the same time without some sort of communication or, you know, collusion, if you will. Secondly, right after these videos were posted, it does appear that the stock jumped in price. Now, when it comes to companies like Amazon, one creator talking about it probably won't move the price by any amount. But for smaller cap companies, it really doesn't take much to move the market, to have this influence. And so when you have this influencer, you know, telling their viewers about this great investment buy, some people might discount the influence they have, but truly, it doesn't take much. So to me, this is pretty upsetting. You know, I'm well aware that there's fraud everywhere you look, but it's pretty ridiculous to get an email, you know, mentioning, hey, these YouTubers partook in this scheme with us, and we'd like to offer you the same chance to partake. But I want to be clear that I don't want this to be taken as me pushing the narrative that you can't trust anyone on YouTube, because that's not fair. I have historically been very skeptical and very critical of a lot of the content out there, and justifiably so in my opinion. But it's not fair to take a few alleged bad actors and deem them representative of the platform as a whole. I know that there are honest people on the platform. I've talked to a lot of finance creators, and for the most part, I think a lot of them are good people, trying their best to be honest and trying their best to be objective and provide good, useful content for their viewers, which is awesome. And in truth, the only reason that we have this uptick in terms of influencers in the finance space is because of distrust of professionals, of the industry as a whole. Between commissions, unnecessary products, and high fees, the industry has a pretty bad reputation. But I am sharing this to point out that when it comes to investments discussed on YouTube and other social media platforms, there is very little regulation protecting you from what people say and what people promote. And really, we all have conflicts of interest discussing stocks and investment styles. Because when it comes to discussing stocks, when you have your own money at stake in certain positions, whether you consciously or subconsciously do so, that's going to have an influence on your opinion when you discuss that thing. And it could, sway the way you talk about certain topics. And really, these are things that affect myself as well. As someone who works for a money manager, I have biases in terms of the strategies I use and the ones I promote, which is why I try to avoid talking about specifics with a lot of companies and things like that, because I'm aware that I have a bias there, and I try my best to avoid that. But while virtually everyone has a conflict of interest, there are certainly varying degrees of these conflicts, if you will. At the one end, you have people who are aware of these conflicts of interest and try their best to be both transparent and objective. They're aware that yes, they might have a bias about talking about certain positions, but they try their best not to embellish information, and they disclose when they have, money in a certain position. In the middle of the spectrum, you have people who still meet their legal obligations and are still transparent, but perhaps they do some more questionable things. Maybe they embellish certain information and promote stocks that they own. Perhaps they take on sponsorships that create an actual or even a perceived conflict of interest. Or, maybe they just talk in a way that clearly they're being influenced by these biases, whether consciously or subconsciously. And at the far end of the spectrum, you have people who are neither transparent nor objective. People who might be paid to promote something without mentioning it to their audience. Or people who might promote a stock idea or a crypto or whatever, using falsehoods and simply trying to pump the price higher so that they themselves can benefit with their own personal position. So you need to tread with extreme caution. And if you're truly getting your financial advice from YouTubers and influencers, in the sense that you aren't doing your own research, you aren't educated enough to make your own informed decision, and you're relying heavily on information being provided to you by someone you don't know who doesn't have any regulation, chances are that you're setting yourself up for failure, to be burned by someone who, might be greedy and trying to get your money. You need to take everything you hear with a grain of salt, including what you hear from my own channel, and come to your own decisions on these matters if you're managing stuff yourself and, using YouTube and these social platforms to get stock ideas, if you will. And needless to say, but if you're a YouTuber, don't do this, please. I can appreciate that $30,000 is a lot of money. I've never been offered $30,000 in one lump sum payment ever in my life. And if you're someone who relies only on YouTube revenue, I can understand how appealing that can be, and how desperate you might be for that kind of money. I work a full-time job in addition to YouTube. I can appreciate how volatile YouTube earnings can be. But, on the one side of it, it's illegal. And you can land jail time and fines for this activity. We've seen it before. And while there aren't a lot of people being prosecuted at the moment, that might not always be the case. And what you put on the internet typically stays there forever. So there's certainly a chance that this will bite you in the butt in the future. And secondly, if you do rely on YouTube for revenue, I truly believe that the best chance you have at growing your channel is by being honest with your viewers. I know there are some people who have gone big without being honest, but for most of us, that's the best shot we have, because your audience can smell BS. They can tell when you have these conflicts playing in the background. And if it's ever brought to light that you have a deal like this, it's going to destroy whatever trust you've built with your audience. So the best thing you can do is disclose and to generally avoid any type of deal like this that would impair your ability to be objective and provide your viewers with a service. Not to mention that it's just generally pretty disgraceful and something that should be avoided. So that's the video, guys. I hope you enjoyed it. As you can tell, I've been sitting on this topic for quite some time. I wasn't really sure how to approach it, but I wanted to share the story so that viewers were aware of the type of stuff that might be going on out there and to take extreme caution when getting stock picks from the platform. There's really not a lot out there protecting you. And in many ways, there are many bad actors out there trying to promote stuff that will work against you. I also wanted the opportunity to stand on my soapbox and denounce the practice to my fellow YouTubers. I truly believe that's in everyone's best interest, your own as well, to avoid these sorts of promotions and, related stuff. It might lead to an upfront paycheck that, might be really handy, but long term, I truly believe you'll stand to benefit by being honest and transparent with your viewers. So, thank you for joining me today, and as always, be safe out there.